Good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to call the meeting to order. The City of Belleville acknowledges we are meeting today on the traditional territory of many nations. We recognize and honor the historic relationship of the Indigenous peoples to this land and acknowledge our shared obligation to respect, honor, and sustain these lands and the natural resources contained within. We recognize First Nation, Métis, and Inuit who call Belleville their home and support the need for cultivating a strong relationship with them. We look forward to fostering a path towards reconciliation and show respect for the Indigenous peoples who first lived and currently live on this land where we now all reside together. Please remain standing for a moment of reflection.
May we be worthy custodians of all that has been entrusted to us. Help us to be concerned only for what will promote good government. May we bring to our council chambers minds that think and hearts that feel, always having respect for others, so that we may serve the people of our city in a helpful manner and for the good of all.
Please be seated. Disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature therefore. Seeing none, I have an amendment to the agenda under motions 11.1 to defer that. From there, we'll start with public meetings, official plan review. Denise Horne, Manager of Heritage and Policy Planning, and Mary Lou Tanner, Senior Planner for NPG Planning Solutions are here. I'd like to call this public meeting to order and thank you for joining us as the City of Belleville works towards updating its official plan. This update will allow the city to remain up to date on numerous changes to provincial legislation, including the 2024 Provincial Planning Statement. In addition, the city has made a commitment to updating its residential policies to support and encourage missing middle housing. Please note that no final decision or approval will be made today, as this is a special public meeting to gather input. The statutory public meeting will be held before the Planning Advisory Committee at a later date before coming back to Council for final approval. Our projects consultants from NPG Planning Solutions will provide a presentation outlining the requirements and priorities of the official plan. After the presentation, I will first invite members of Council to ask any questions they may have. Once Council questions are concluded, I will open the floor up for comments from the public. Now we're ready for the presentation.
Okay, good afternoon. My name is Denise Horne, as the Mayor mentioned, and I am the Principal Planner with NPG Planning Solutions, and this is Mary Lou Tanner, Senior Partner with NPG Planning Solutions, and we are happy to be here today to talk to you about the official plan review process. So just to let you know, NPG Planning Solutions is, we're a planning firm based out of Niagara. We also have offices in Hamilton and Toronto, and our team on the Belleville official plan is comprised of registered professional planners, urban design specialists, cultural heritage specialists, and GIS specialists supporting us through this process. So just to give you a bit of background, this is really a targeted review of the official plan to ensure that it is consistent with recent provincial legislation and policy changes. Our review also includes taking a look at recent studies, plans, and initiatives that the City of Belleville has been undertaking to ensure that the plan conforms and implements those plans and studies with specific regard for the Housing Accelerator Fund, but also the corridor study. And of course, part of our review will also ensure that we are hearing from the community and incorporating feedback and input in any way that sort of relates to these targeted areas of focus for update. So to give you a bit of a sense of where we are now and where we started, we did prepare a background report in July 2025, and that was released publicly. We've now prepared a policy directions report, and that has gone to MMAH for some initial review. And so the next step will be taking a look at the policy directions report and making some revisions and amendments, and then bringing that forward for a statutory open house, likely in April, and then a public meeting in early May. And then we'll have that ready, the final for sometime after May 2026. So just to give you a sense of some of the key priorities that we're focusing on for the official plan update, some of the comments and recommendations out of existing planning documents have considered giving consideration to enhanced urban design requirements, especially in the downtown area where density is planned. Supporting mixed-use development, specifically in the corridor study area, but also in the downtown area and sensitively in commercial areas to ensure that the communities remain adaptive and to ensure that there's revitalization. We are also looking at promoting missing middle housing, which we recognize for Belleville is a key part of the Housing Accelerator Fund initiative, and how missing middle housing can be sensitively integrated into existing communities and mature neighborhoods. There has been policy development for managing higher densities and what it looks like if there are proposals to exceed densities while respecting infrastructure limitations. And then we have, as I noted, looked at how we're implementing the corridor study as sort of an aspirational guide for some of the key corridors in the Belleville community. So to date, we have undertaken a public consultation center, which was done in tandem with Doors Open back in September, which was a great success. And we have launched an online survey, which had 167 respondents. We also did some targeted stakeholder workshops with local developers and sort of key stakeholders generally in the area. And we have done Indigenous community outreach via letters. Many Indigenous communities responded, or several responded back, saying that they'd like to be sort of kept in the loop on an ongoing basis to ensure that they understand what's happening through this process. And as I noted, upcoming is a statutory open house and public meeting. And then just to give you just a bit of a sense of what we sort of heard to date, I imagine none of this will surprise you much, but certainly what we've heard from engagement so far is that people really value the small town feel of Belleville. That was a key word that we heard used quite a bit, especially in the survey responses. People value the waterfront areas, the historic character of the downtown. And people are generally more supportive of medium density. They preferred to see that than high density development. So medium density looking something like 6 to 8 stories, whereas higher density would be more. Many noted the need for more affordable housing options, and some noted a lack of connection to the downtown, and specifically people cited, not having a reason to go downtown, not always feeling like downtown felt safe, or that there was just sort of draws to local businesses. That was sort of interesting for us to hear. And those sort of comments play into that consideration for mixed uses, right? Incorporating mixed uses more in the downtown area. So that's just sort of a high overview of where we've gotten to date, and we're happy to take any questions if that's...
Okay, Councillor Thompson.
Yeah. Thank you very much for coming. You mentioned down in here waterfront. Is there any are you looking at the waterfront downtown as far as the back parking lot, or is any of that involved in your discussion?
So through the chair, we have taken those comments and made notes specific to considerations for beautification and thinking about walkability and safety for those areas. But we do understand that there may be plans for future studies of the waterfront, and so any kind of detailed study we'd leave to that process.
Any other questions? Councillor Brown?
Thank you, Your Worship. I wondered if you could just offer us a bit more guidance on the corridor studies. The reason for my question and for the viewers is there's a federal project going on right now that's getting a lot of attention around the corridors that have been selected. So I just want to make sure that there's clarity that this is unrelated to that federal project. And if we could just highlight the types of corridor studies that have been done here within the municipality.
Director Ashton.
So through the chair, I think you're referring to the high-speed train corridor project. Reference to this official plan amendment is looking at the retail corridors that we have along North Front Street and Bell Boulevard, and then some of the recommendations to incorporate mixed use and residential use and redevelopment opportunities in those areas, which would be incorporated eventually into our official plan policies. Thanks.
Okay, anybody else? Councillor Kelly?
Thank you, through you, Chair. Thanks for the presentation. A couple of things. I was listening to your comments about the feedback and area of focus and how is that feedback resonating with people. You mentioned the engagement. Your online survey was 167 people participated. To me, that seems extremely low. And how do we engage people to participate in questions that affect their community? And the other thing I just wanted to know, with the provincial legislation, we're seeing changes now in conservation. How could that affect our city if it worked with any other municipalities on that with the changes coming to the Conservation Act? Thanks.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Through the Mayor. Initially, we don't anticipate there will be changes because of to the official plan because of the changes to the Conservation Authority legislation. At some point, those new organizations will do updated floodplain mapping, and at that point, there will need to be a review of the official plan. But for now, it is the information we have from the current Conservation Authority we're moving forward with.
And just to follow up, just on the engagement, you're working with other municipalities, I'm sure. How do we get people to be more engaged? And 167 people with the online survey. What are some other techniques that other communities have success with?
Sure, through the Mayor. So yes, we do engagement in other communities, and I don't know what the standard sort of rate of success is or measure of success or KPI is in Belleville, what's typical for, your engagement numbers. Official plans are an interesting one. They feel like such a high-level topic that people don't always know or understand how it might apply to them. So some of the things that we've done are workshops, and we've extended invitations specifically through local groups and things to try to get people out. We've held workshops and open houses at different times of day to ensure that different demographics can attend. So perhaps that's another way. And we are, of course, going to be having an open house meeting. So another thing that we've done in other municipalities that we found great success with is sometimes we'll have an open house or a public meeting with another type of study or initiative that's going on in the municipality. So sort of piggybacking them together so that maybe people come out for something that's of interest and they find out something else about, the official plan at the same time. Which is why I said, the open house, the Doors Open was a good success for the original public consultation center because people came out for Doors Open, but they got to learn a little something about the official plan as well at the same time.
Thank you. Any more questions? Councillor Ray Miller.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you very much, ladies, for the presentation. And I agree with Councillor Kelly. Our survey results tend to be low in most things that we put out, so it's not surprising that that's is happening with us. I was just curious, how will the plan balance growth while preserving what you're hearing, this small town feel that Belleville so readily has and we want to ensure we keep? Can you give us some hints on that? Thank you.
Yeah, through the Mayor. So we have been looking at gentle intensification in mature neighborhoods, right? So ensuring that there is flexibility in built form, but gentle transitions, while also preserving character, right? So we recognize that some of the mature neighborhoods have a certain character to them, things like monitoring front yard parking, right? Keeping mature trees and things. So that's definitely one way in those areas, right? Finding ways for different housing typologies in mature neighborhoods. In the downtown area, we have made some suggestions for enhanced urban design measures to ensure that there is still space between buildings and light flow, and there aren't additional challenges caused by wind, right? Wind impacts from taller buildings or shadowings, excessive shadowing and things to really ensure that the downtown still maintains that feel. And retention of the historic character, right? So where possible, retaining those historic facades is a great way to maintain character of downtown.
Okay, any more questions? Seeing none, we can now move to open the floor up for comments from the public. I will call 3 times for any additional comments before closing the public meeting. Are there any open? The floor is open for comments from the public. Going once, going twice. Floor is open for comments from the public. Seeing none, I will adjourn the motion, or adjourn the meeting. Thanks. I'd also like to welcome Jason Barlow, our new Director of Environmental Services, is in the audience or in the group tonight. Jason, welcome, your first council meeting. The hard questions are coming your way. Moving to deputations, I would like to recognize, I need a motion and approval of the council meeting of February 23rd and the special operating budget of February 25th. Moved by Councillor Thompson, second by Councillor Enright Miller. Discussion, all in favor? Carried. Moving to deputations. It's an honor today to have Nicholas Cameron in our audience tonight. Nicholas is a city employee. He joined our team in the fall as a winter casual. He has been on our night crew all winter as one of our sidewalk plow operators. On behalf of the city, I would like to recognize Nicholas Cameron for his bravery and his extraordinary act of courage and compassion during a recent house fire. On February 12th, around 5 a.m., Nick was plowing the sidewalks in the area of William Street and Queen Street. Nick saw flames coming from the house and saw a lady from the burning house in distress. Nick got her away from the house so she was safe, and she told him her sister was still inside. Nick attempted to yell in a front window to anyone still inside. Nick and the landlord went around the back and entered the second floor of the house, but the smoke was too thick, so they had to vacate and wait for emergency services. I want to express our sincere gratitude and appreciation, Nick. Please join us in thanking Nicholas for representing our city with such an honor and integrity. I don't know if you wanted to talk to council at all, or you're shy, or?
A little bit shy.
Okay.
I appreciate it.
Next, we have Dr. Rob Pincock and Sheila Bradek, Hastings Prince Edward Ontario Health Team, update on local primary health care.
Perfect. All right. Thanks very much for having us back. It's a great pleasure to be here to give everyone an update on the progress of primary care transformation in Belleville, but I guess in all of Hastings and Prince Edward. So with that, we can just go over a couple of things. So the Hastings Prince Edward Ontario Health Team is a voluntary collaboration of the health and social organizations within our region, and our mission is caring for our communities together, partnering for better health, wellness within and across our communities.
Yeah, there's over 40 organizations that are involved in the Ontario Health Team, inclusive of the hospital, paramedics, community health centers, primary care, mental health and addictions, community support services. So it's a very broad coalition of organizations.
Perfect. A priority for us for the past 5 years,
Yeah.
oh, okay, has been developing primary healthcare strategy for our region. We have identified the city of Belleville as a priority for us, and we've continued to work on family physician recruitment, and we appreciate Council's ongoing support of family physician recruitment throughout this process, and ongoing, hopefully.
And the expansion to consideration for nurse practitioners as well, I think, has been really important.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. So As of February of this year, we had on our Healthcare Connect waiting list in the city of Belleville specifically, there are approximately 2,500 residents who were waiting for a family physician or nurse practitioner. And I believe actually that actually is probably the list from people who were unattached as of January 1st, 2025. That statistic, I think, comes from that date, and we probably have had more registrations since. The priority from Ontario Health has been to clear the list as of January 1st, 2025, and to that end, we have been able to attach approximately 1,000 Belleville residents as of our last count of February 18th. And that attachment is ongoing. We have had new physicians in the city of Belleville who continue to take patients actually at quite an impressive rate. We've had expansion of services at the Belleville Quinte West CHC, and we've had additional physicians recruited to the Belleville Queens Family Health Team. So, the Primary Care Action Team from the Ministry of Health has called for investment for expanded primary care, including team-based care. And as I mentioned, their focus is on clearing that provincial wait list as of January of last year. There was a competitive funding opportunity announced in 2025 and 2026, focusing on communities within our region, specifically using the postal code prefixes KOK, KOL, and K8N. And we were successful in getting approved for primary care expansion. So we have service expansion happening in not only City of Belleville, but also Brighton, Stirling, Tweed, Gilmore, Bancroft, and Prince Edward County. So with our total target for the entire region being about 10,000 people. Sheila, do you want to speak to the numbers?
The numbers here?
Yeah,
Sure.
the numbers that you have right there. Yeah.
The numbers that I have right here, yeah. What we know is that there's more people that are unattached than people that are on Healthcare Connect, right? And it's a provincial government priority to focus on those on Healthcare Connect first, as of January 1st, 2025, and then follow up with others. In Hastings, Prince Edward, totally, we've managed to attach 6,700 people over the last several months out of our 10,200 goal. So we've actually made really good progress, right? And it's on the strength of some of the new investment that the province has made, as well as some of the ongoing work that's happening with some of the existing primary care organizations. So it's been, and these are not obviously all in Belleville, but across all of HPE OHT.
I guess it's important to note, though, that will have an impact here, and especially will be felt in our emergency department usage, especially for less urgent visits.
Yeah.
That funding was announced in July with implementation being approved in November. And so we are currently in the recruitment process, trying to recruit staff and set up physical space as well.
Yeah. We've had some challenges, especially in the Belleville area, because there's not a lot of appropriate infrastructure available to use for primary care space. You actually need a lot of plumbing, and there's not a lot of spaces around that have that available plumbing. So it means investments need to be made in order to make the space ready to receive new primary care providers. So we're in the process of trying to make that happen. but it's challenging and is taking a bit longer than we had hoped.
Yeah. So physical space is one thing, and then physical space that can accommodate a team.
Yep.
I think is the other part, because there are our existing physician complement currently practice. We have one large medical building, and then we have multiple smaller offices with sort of groups of 2 to 4 physicians in each, and not a lot of team space. So
Yep.
when we're considering adding the interprofessional team around the physicians to help improve access to the physicians, but also offload some of the administrative burden and care that can be provided by other health professionals, that's sort of where we run into difficulties.
Yeah, definitely. Do you want me to talk?
Yeah, you want to talk about this
Sure.
one?
So that was round one. Round two, where there was an invitation for additional submissions. We submitted in November of 2025. And it was really focused on a couple of areas. One was expansion again and looking at prioritizing Quinte West as well as other areas. And then also a focus on military families. It's a real challenge we know that there's a broad sweep of our community that needs access to primary health care, right? Our ability to implement all of that at once we don't have that ability. So we're picking off chunks, and the province has invited us to pick off those chunks. So this is the next round. We also know that in September of this coming year, we expect that there's going to be a third round, and we expect that there'll be another proposal, at least one proposal from Hastings Prince Edward going in as well for that. Certainly over the next short while, we're working on, as I say, implementing round one, hiring physicians, getting the space, or primary care providers, getting the space ready. We continue with patient attachment in the meantime on the strength of existing resources, as well as what's new in the area. And then we continue to explore ways generally to make it improvements, right? We know that lack of access to primary health care impacts all of us in our community. And if there are ways that we can respond to the community meaningfully to try to reduce some of that burden, and some of the things that we have been doing are things like PAP clinics for people that are unattached to primary health care, right? So that they're able to get some of that early cancer screening. We have done influenza clinics so that folks are able to get some of that care to have them not going into the hospital. And we'll continue to explore some of those things as a collaborative.
Yeah. And I guess and we're engaged right now also in a little bit of a pilot project to identify people at increased need from Cancer Care Ontario, and from the East Region Cancer Centre as well.
So we're waiting for approval on round two, given that it's supposed to be starting for 26-27. One would hope that's coming shortly. And then getting ready for round three and funding. So it's actually quite a busy time for all of us, and we're excited with the opportunity to come. I think it's been very exciting to come together as a collaborative, right? I would say in my 9 years here, I think we've made tremendous progress in terms of being able to come together, propose a coherent plan, and then work toward that plan being implemented. So that's very exciting. And I think it's really important that it's actually a region-wide plan. So there's opportunities as well for city councils to come together and explore, are there ways that Quinte West and Belleville, for example, or others might be able to work together to support some of the recruitment. And I know some of those conversations have been ongoing already. So thank you for that.
Okay, thank you. Questions for the deputation? Councillor Carr?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Dr. Pincock and Ms. Bradek, for coming. One slide that wasn't in your presentation that the council received was speaking to the current state of unattached.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
That population, it said 11,660 residents in the city of Belleville
Yeah.
do not have primary care as of March 31st, 2025. Just curious how that number was determined.
Yeah, so that number came from a study led by, I think it was Mike Green out of Queen's University. And that was sort of looking at the true number of unattached or functionally unattached people in the province of Ontario. And so that was our attributed number based on that study, but it doesn't reflect the people who've actually registered with Healthcare Connect to be on the list for a new provider. And I think there's probably a mixture of people who have thought that wasn't going to be fruitful. It wasn't going to lead to them being attached to a provider. I think that there's a number of people that are afraid to register on the list because up until last year, it did mean you had to relinquish your previous provider, and people wouldn't want to do that. And then I think that there is probably a small subset of people that just aren't looking, but.
And
yeah.
sorry, and there's a group of folks that getting on a digital list is not an option functionally.
Yeah, and I see that you've started to advertise for people to get on Healthcare Connect. Council's given direction for our staff, recruitment staff, to do that. Is it fair to say that the province of Ontario could do a little better job in highlighting the importance of Healthcare Connect and maybe dispel some of the myths that have perpetuated in years past of it being a broken list? And I hear anecdotally that residents will be on for 7, 8, 9, 10 years, so they've given up. Is it fair to say the province really needs to change and maybe advertise a different image for Healthcare Connect?
I'd say we'd welcome a communications campaign from the province.
Okay. With respect to that sampling number, and I understand it's based on a study, according to the slide, and again, it was in our package, 1,763 of those people were on Healthcare Connect. So there's a good 9,000 that aren't, essentially, probably more. What efforts are being done locally here in terms of encouraging people to get on Healthcare Connect?
So there's a variety of efforts that are underway, right? Certainly at my operation, we encourage folks when they call us, we say, get on Healthcare Connect, right? And I know a number of other places are doing that. And Healthcare Connect is starting to release some information that people can post and that sort of thing. There are other efforts outside of Healthcare Connect because we know that there are folks that aren't going to be able to navigate Healthcare Connect, right? And so that intake continues in different ways.
Okay. And with respect to the dollars, sorry, let me go back to, I got two questions. One is related to round 2 and round 3. Mm-hmm. And so, and that's good to hear that there's more money actually being allocated out. Will the province or will you or your organization still be operating on the January 1st, 2025 Healthcare Connect list? Or is it conceivable that, say your campaign works out well, Dr. Pincock, your suggestion that the province start running some advertising about Healthcare Connect, if those numbers grow up, is it safe to say that those then will have an impact in terms of the funding in round 2 and round 3 if the Healthcare Connect is higher, or is it still based on that January 2025 number?
So I'd say the funding isn't tied to that number. So I mean, clearing that list is a provincial objective, and we're tasked with clearing it essentially by June of this year. I don't think that'll actually end up being a barrier to any of us. Some of our sub-regional areas have actually already functionally cleared that January 1st list and are, they're sort of requesting people be forwarded who have registered since that date.
Yeah, because my concern is if the province uses that date, then they can say, well, we've met that metric, we've solved the problem, when we know full well that there's a pile of number that isn't.
Yeah. I think they expect that list to grow.
Okay.
from the January 1st, 2025, for various reasons, some of which we talked about, but we also know that that list is going to fluctuate over time. We will have people who retire, we will have people who leave the area for whatever reason, and that list is going to fluctuate, and we're, I think the fact is that it's just going to need to be managed on an ongoing basis over time.
Sure, that's fair. Thank you, Mayor. I have one last question. With respect to the dollar amounts that have been allocated thus far, and you mentioned there's been some challenges to recruitment, how much recruitment has been done so far in terms of primary care?
I know this number.
Yeah, you do, yes.
I do.
It's kind of an important number too, right?
Yeah. So we've managed to recruit 16 full-time equivalent positions out of the 35 that we were funded for.
Okay, and that's
So
physicians?
some are physicians, nurse practitioners, nurses, social workers, a variety of
Yep,
folks.
okay, great. That's excellent. Thank you.
Okay, any more questions? Councillor Brown?
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you for your presentation today. I'm just looking through my list of questions. Some you've covered with Councillor Carr. The first one, and hopefully an easy one. When, with the 3 units in Belleville that received funding as part of round 1, and my questions are largely on round 1, are we only rostering people who are on Healthcare Connect? Or if somebody who's unrostered and walks in and wants to be connected, are they allowed to be connected through that funding as well?
They can be connected through that funding, so we figured that we would take about 60% of people off of Healthcare Connect out of the 10,000 on round 1. Mm-hmm. And because we know that in some communities, for example, in Bancroft, North Hastings, very few people are on the Healthcare Connect list. Most of the people are on a list that's maintained outside of Healthcare Connect. So we know that there's variables within the communities about who's actually on Healthcare Connect and who's able to access through Healthcare Connect. So we targeted about 60% off of Healthcare Connect, and the rest would come through a variety of other sources.
Yeah.
And is there any promotion or marketing that goes with that to make people aware that these 3 locations are actually recruiting new patients?
Which 3 locations are you referring
So,
to?
so there's the Queen's Health Team,
Yes.
there's the Belleville and Quinte West Community Health Center, and there's a third one that's just left my head.
The, as far as I'm aware, unnamed family health group.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, so my understanding is that most of those people are coming through Healthcare Connect, and part of that is sort of an issue of fairness and triage.
Yep.
Because Healthcare Connect will perform that function of sort of triaging most urgent, based on self-reporting, but nevertheless. And then in terms of based on fairness, I mean, I think there is absolutely an obligation from the College of Physicians and Surgeons to take in an unbiased way. So most people taking patients will look for an option such as Healthcare Connect that'll do that for them.
Yeah.
So again, pertaining to, sorry, I have a couple of more questions, Your Worship. With the recruitment that's being done, is it centralized under this, or is it each of those units are recruiting on their own for doctors, nurse practitioners?
Everybody's doing their own recruiting. We certainly share information and opportunities. If somebody's saying, I don't want to work in that sort of environment, I want a different sort of a thing, then we'll pass them along. But it's being done individually.
And then just to carry on from there, what coordination is being done with the physician recruiters in Quinte West, Hastings County, and Belleville?
Yeah. So we certainly are in touch with them on a regular basis through our organization, and I'm sure that the others are as well. And we have opportunity to invite them to the OHT for conversations to the primary care network. So there's good communication that's ongoing.
So one of the things that the municipalities did was an MOU, a non-compete
Yes.
MOU. Is that similar type of MOU in place with the Ontario Health Team?
No.
I just, how do we avoid competing with each other
I see.
for
Oh,
the
yes.
same resources?
Yeah. Well, we're more pleasant to work with.
So the problem with the healthcare sector is that not all of the organizations are on an even footing in terms of salary ranges for the same positions. And unfortunately, as employers of record, they are somewhat chained to an approved remuneration schedule. And so by that, these organizations are in competition not as much with each other in the primary healthcare space, but with other entities such as hospitals, private insurance companies for people like physiotherapists and occupational therapists, and other players in the sector. So we try to cooperate within our OHT, but at the same time there are limitations in terms of what we're able to offer in each location based on what kind of structure is operating, whether it's a family health team versus a CHC versus some other model.
And my last question, if I could. The fact that there's many organizations that are doing recruiting across Hastings, Prince Edward as a whole, and each of them has incentive plans, different incentive plans. Are those incentive plans in any way inhibiting what the Ontario Health Team is trying to do with the Round 1 funding?
No.
Okay, thank you.
No. It's supportive of what we're trying to do.
Councillor Henderson?
Thank you, through you, Mayor Ellis. Just a couple of quick questions. So how often do you have the ability to access these numbers on Healthcare Connect?
We get information regularly through Healthcare Connect.
Yeah.
They provide them to us on an ongoing basis.
Yeah, it's bi-weekly or monthly or.
Oh, so then that's how you're measuring the success of what you're doing?
Yeah.
Okay. And my next question is, which is kind of a good and bad problem, how can someone on Healthcare Connect come off of Healthcare Connect when they've already been connected with a doctor on their own?
Yeah. So this is sort of why January 1st, 2025 is the default date, because Healthcare Connect did a data cleanup of their list and contacted everybody on their list to see whether or not they had found a provider. I don't know that they have done it since. However, when they do provide that information to a healthcare provider, then they do take them off the list.
Okay, and just further to that, I mean, I do know some people that, and I, not to toot our own horn, but I do know that we've done a really good job at recruiting physicians here. And I do know that some of these physicians are calling for doctors, or calling for patients rather, patient rostering. And some of these patients that I know have not come off Healthcare Connect. And they're slowly being contacted by Healthcare Connect, even though they've already been connected with a primary health care provider. So I guess from a standpoint of gauging those numbers, I guess it's kind of difficult in that way if they're not regularly cleaning up that list, Healthcare Connect. Yeah.
Yes, it's a challenge, right? And for me, there are absolutely challenges in the systems, right? We know that. And I think that as we talk numbers, right, the reality is that they're indicators, they're not facts. Or they may have been at one moment, right? And so just being mindful of that.
And thank you, that's all I have.
Councillor Kelly?
Thank you. Through you, Mayor. Appreciate the presentation today, Doctor, and Sheila. Appreciate that. A couple of things. I was at that day in Tyendinaga. It was a couple of years ago. I think it was the fall of 2024. And listened and sat through the presentations and the commentary. And so we were received $4.45 million. When I know the true ask for this area, the true ask to really represent and make a big time dent into what the needs are was 30 million plus. So when we get less than $5 million and it goes to Bancroft, Gilmore, Prince Edward County, Brighton, Stirling and Tweed, and those communities need it in Belleville, To me, that's a slap in the side of the head from the province, because the request went in, this is what we need to make a dent. We're seeing it now in public health. I sit on the Southeast Public Health Board. We're seeing some of the challenges as comes back to provincial funding again in programs, whether it's our youth in our community at high schools, and we continue to struggle with doctor recruitment and nurse practitioners. Let's call it what it is. The proof is in the pudding. Belleville is 7% less than the provincial average for doctor recruitment or people having access to care. When I'm out and about and talking to people in our community, they still say to me all the time, I don't have a nurse practitioner, I don't have a doctor, I tell them Healthcare Connect. It's a real struggle. Some have been on for years, and as they age, sometimes some of those health challenges start to creep up. It's not a shot at anybody, but it's frustrating. And then we know that the province launched that in 2029, the 2.5 million Canadians that don't have a doctor or a nurse primary care are going to be looked after in 3 years. We never get an update. Maybe you can enlighten us today to tell us how close we are to the 2.5 million. And again, it's funding. And rural and smaller community cities take it the hardest. It's tough to recruit. Belleville already pays $150,000 for a doctor to graduate. We're spending thousands of dollars on RNs and nurse practitioners to come in our community and work. It's frustrating. Doctor, you talked about your 5-year strategy plan in 2021. I'll end it on this. Where are we with that strategy plan, and where are the wins in the last 5 years?
Do you want me to start with that?
Sure.
Because I'm not going to say we don't share the frustrations of trying to negotiate with the province about what our needs are to sort of as far as we can figure out, and what they see our needs are, and try and reconcile those two. We certainly are continuing to make the case for the region, and we're trying to, what we're seeing is we are seeing incremental wins. The funding we got last year was the first major funding for this region in who knows how long. We have an announcement pending on that round 2 funding, hopefully in the next few weeks. And hopefully we can, continue to move the needle, and a big win would be great, but I'll take incremental progress.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Councilor Wright-Miller?
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you very much for the presentation. It sounds like you have a great network working with you to get some results. I have a question, and I think I already know the answer, but I just wanted to ask. You mentioned about space being at a premium, and doctors needing space, water, all that goes with that. Is it safe to say that you reach out to all current physicians who already have a business set up with all of that goes along with that, with staffing, to see if they want to expand their workspace, space share, that kind of thing? Is that something that is done readily, just to see if that would?
Yeah, so I think, yes, it happens, and it happens probably informally, for the most part. And again, these are questions about, where people are in their careers and how much they'd want to invest in something based on how much longer they're going to want to work. But yeah, those conversations are taking place, and I think there is probably, I'm fortunate. I work in the big office on Station Street, which is great. But what would be great is for the residents who are graduating this year, who are planning to stick around, if they had a place that they could walk into, right? That would be the next step.
Okay, thank you. Motion to receive, moved by Councillor Carr, seconded by Councillor Thompson. All in favor? Carried. Thanks for coming out. Great deputation.
Thank you.
Council rise and go into Committee of the Whole at 10 to 5 and hear and consider reports, passing recommendations and resolutions with Councillor Thompson in the chair, moved by Councillor Carr, Councillor Enright Miller, all in favor, carried.
Our agenda shall include reports, items number, individual attention. The first one, 8A1, 2025 capital budget, 1.018 funding amendment, sandbagging unit, DTOS 2026-02-2025. Capital budget, 1018 funding amendment, sandbagging unit, recommended pursuant to the Director of Transportation and Operations Services report number DTOS 2026-02, 2025 capital budget item 1018 tool and equipment be amended to be funded by Winter Control Reserve Fund in the amount of $38,500 and reduce funding from the Community Emergency Preparedness Grant in the amount of $38,500 for the purchase of a sandbagging unit. Mover and a seconder. Councillor Brown, Councillor Kelly, any questions? Councillor Carr.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to Director Reid. I note in the report that there was consultation through Ministry of Emergency Preparedness and Response through MPP Allsup's office. Foxborough is actually in MPP Barizi's area, and maybe he should be looped in. But my question is this. Do you have an indication that we're not going to be successful with this funding, or is it just a matter of timing? And then if we are successful, is the intent then to just replenish that reserve account?
Dr. Reid?
Through the chair to Councillor Carr. Unfortunately, they don't really have a timeline on when the results would get back to us. The indication they didn't, it was kind of a neutral, they weren't sure. Unfortunately, just the amount of snow up north and all the concerns we have, we thought we'd be be proactive and get this purchased. Unfortunately, the way the grants typically run is once you purchase the unit, you can't retroactively ask for the funding. So we're just asking for it to be purchased now and move forward.
Okay, thank you for that. And certainly I agree with the recommendation and staff being prepared for potential flooding. So thank you.
Councillor Miller?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To Director Reid, thank you for the report, and I think it's prudent and proactive that we proceed with such a piece of equipment. I was just curious, is there any other municipality that has this piece of equipment? And if they don't, could we rent it out and garner some revenues from it should they ever need it?
Director Reid?
Through the chair to Councillor Enright Miller, I do believe North Dumfries just purchased one unit, but I'm not sure of anybody that would rent it out. They're the only other ones at this point that I know off the top of my head.
Any other questions? Worship?
Time of arrival.
Yeah, through the chair to Mayor Ellis. Hopefully, if they have one in stock, as soon as possible. We are cutting it very close, so I'm not sure if any other municipalities have purchased it, but it is within our thresholds to issue the PO within our it doesn't have to come back to council, so it should be very expedient getting a PO issued, and hopefully we can get one soon.
Any other questions? All in favor? That's carried. 8A2, Front Street Upper Bridge Rehabilitation Traffic Impact Study, ENG 2026-01. Recommendation, the pursuit to the Deputy Director of Engineering and Development, Service Report Number ENG 2026, Front Street Upper Bridge Rehabilitation be received, and that rehabilitation of the bridge proceed for continued use for vehicular and pedestrian traffic. Mover and our seconder for that. Councillor Enright Miller and Councillor Sioux, any questions? Councillor Carr.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To the director or the deputy director. I'm just curious, because we've gone through the process of the lower bridge and incurred costs upon costs, and I know that there were also some issues related to that we experienced and that additional work had to be done. So I was wondering if staff could just give me an idea, since the recommendation is to proceed with vehicular and pedestrian traffic, that obviously some larger reconstruction will be required in order to handle vehicle weight. Just outline what the difference is between the work up here at the upper bridge versus the lower bridge. And then also just what steps can be taken to avoid the issues that we experience with the lower bridge reconstruction, considering they're somewhat of the same and some of the same issues.
Who wants to take that?
Okay, thank you. Through the chair to Councillor Carr. So lower bridge is 4 lanes of traffic and upper bridge is 2. Maybe that's part of it, but lower bridge seems to be experiencing more and more rapid deterioration than upper bridge. Our engineering design consultant, when doing their inspections and investigations for upper bridge, also looked at lower bridge, and that's what triggered the remediation and extra repairs on lower bridge, because more cracking and damage was noted in those inspections. So I did have a discussion, and it's noted in the engineering reports that the Front Street upper bridge appeared to be performing much better than the lower bridge. So in terms of how the rehabilitation differs between upper and lower, lower bridge included strengthening of that structure, strengthening on the lower tie beams of the arch and the arches themselves. And we don't have that same structural strengthening component to the proposed upper bridge rehabilitation.
Okay. And just in terms of, because the bridges seem to be a little unique, or at least it would appear that way based on some of the work that was done at the lower bridge, just in terms of monitoring the work to make sure that it stays within scope and costs and all the rest of it, what kind of parameters are staff putting in on that?
Yes, so like I mentioned, the upper bridge, when we put out that request for proposals for the design of the upper bridge rehabilitation, we included inspections on the lower bridge. HP Engineering Inc. was our design consultant on that assignment, and even before we put out the request for proposals, we did a request for pre-qualification, which seemed to work quite well, and making sure that our engineering design consultant had experience with 1930s concrete and the material properties associated with that. So we've had success with the request for pre-qualification before proceeding to the request for proposal or even to tender, to make sure that our, our experts, our structural engineers, looking after the design, as well as the construction inspection and contract administration, because bridge rehabilitation work, often you need to chip away at and get back to sound concrete before you can start to rebuild it. And so you rely heavily on those eyes and ears, literally eyes and ears on site from our structural engineers. So that's a good kind of defense mechanism, I guess, is that setting ourselves up for success would be that request for pre-qualification again.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, can I have the worship come, and I want to have a couple of questions for you, please.
Councillor Tobin, the floor is yours.
Thank you. A couple of questions. First of all, I obviously, in my own thoughts, I'd like to have this bridge strictly as a pedestrian, not a vehicular. So when we do this, do we have to do extra work on this to maintain a vehicular rather than just a pedestrian, or would it be the same amount of work?
So I did pose that question to our engineering design consultant, and what that would look like. So if it was pedestrian only, what that would look like is diverting pedestrians to the center of the bridge, to the driving lanes of the bridge. Part of the rehabilitation is replacement of the sidewalks and the pedestrian barriers on the sidewalks. So if you were to rehabilitate it, diverting pedestrians to where
the asphalt is, where vehicles are now, you'd have to close off the sidewalk or, take them off eventually. Maybe they're going to fall into disrepair. And then you'd be looking at introducing some kind of pedestrian barrier between the arches, which would then change the aesthetics of the bridge and may trigger our heritage evaluation.
So you've looked at it. Is it a particularly an important bridge to maintain for vehicular traffic coming downtown?
So that's why we did the traffic impact study and looked at traffic now, 10 years, 20 years down the road. And as outlined in the report, there are some different intersections that experience increased delays and turning movement, vehicles backing up into a through lane, things like this. All the intersections in that area are connected because at one point in time it was a series of one-way streets. So that's what the traffic impact study is recommending operationally, that we maintain that for vehicular access, but we have the option to close it from time to time if so desired.
Okay, my last question then. If we're going to redo it, the downtown merchants or other organizations are always wanting to have an event downtown. And we have to get Mr. Reed's department to close the streets. So, and that's, I don't know what the cost would be of that. I know it's $3,000 or $4,000, Mr. Reed, to close off a street.
Yeah, through the chair to Councillor Thompson, it's around, depending on the time of day and the weekends, anywhere between 3,000 to 5,000.
Okay, my question is then, if that's the case, is there any way that we can put gates or some sort of a thing that we can close that bridge off for events and not have that particular event have to hack out $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000 to put an event on? So my question is that I would like you to look at the possibility of having gates put up so that we could easily close that off with not the cost incurred.
We can look at that. It's not included as part of the current rehabilitation, so I think what we would do is come up with a plan for a gate or however we want to close the bridge off and bring that back for council consideration on the cost. The gate might be more expensive than we first anticipate.
Yeah, but it may be more expensive, but if they close off it 3 or 4 times a year, that's $10,000, $15,000.
Absolutely.
And so the gates may be $10,000, but it might be the best deal we'll ever get. So I would certainly like to see the staff look at a gate system for that bridge. Okay, thank you. Any other questions on it? Councillor Enright Miller.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry, Manager O'Leary, just had one more question. You mentioned heritage, so I was just going to ask, the rehabilitation will address any heritage preservation because of the age. It's 1930 was at the available age of the, so it'll kind of be a like for like rebuild?
Correct, yeah.
It's going to look the same?
That's
when
right.
all is said and done? Okay, thank you.
All right, all in favor? That's carried. Consent items, council may adopt consent items by one motion, but prior to consideration of such motion, members may request the specific items be removed from consideration under such motion, and council shall consider such items individually. Your worship?
No, thank you.
Councillor Carr?
8B2, please.
Councillor Enright Miller?
No, thank you.
Councillor Sue?
No, thank you.
Councillor Henderson?
No, thank you.
Councillor Brown?
Already pulled, thank you.
Pardon?
It's already pulled.
Okay.
82.
And Councillor Kelly?
No, thank you.
All right, can we have a motion then to receive and approve 8B1, 8B3, 8B4, and 8B5? Councillor Enright Miller, Councillor Kelly, all in favor? That's carried. 8B2, 2025 Fire and Emergency Service Annual Report, FES 2602, recommendations, the report number FES 2602, 2025 Fire and Emergency Service Annual Report be received. Councillor Carr and Secretary Councillor Brown. Councillor Carr.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to the Fire Chief. Thank you, Chief, for the report. This is an excellent breakdown and very good for the public to also see the work that's completed by your department day in and day out. I just have a couple of questions. Page 11 of the report speaks to 2025 total emergency response dispatch calls. And I see, my question is in relation to the categories or the response type. Could you explain public service? I see there was 477 calls. Just give us an idea of what public service is as a category.
Through the chair,
Chief?
Through the chair to Councillor Carr, public service is the catch-all. That's the weird and wonderful calls that come in. Things like today, I've got water coming into my basement. It is the catch-all of all the weird and wonderful things that our dispatch doesn't quite know how to categorize. It could literally be for anything. It's the pet that's stuck under the stairs. It's the water in the basement. We do a lot of those service calls day in and day out.
Okay, through you, and I got a couple, Mr. Chair. So with respect to that, that's a call going into dispatch. Doesn't necessarily mean that vehicles are going to roll or anything like that, because obviously if you have water in your basement, it doesn't sound like a fire call. That sounds like you need a plumber and a sub pump. Is that fair to say?
Through the chair to Councillor Call, if we get called, we go. So we'll go. It doesn't always mean that it's an emergent call. So we may not go lights and sirens, but we're always going to go and at least check it out, because sometimes the information is not exactly as it's relayed as well. So we're always going. Okay. It's just a matter of what we do when we get there. There may be nothing for us.
Okay, and then in that same category, Mr. Chair, there's other, which looks like a catch-all that's not public service. So what would other be?
Through the chair to Councillor Carr, it's a lot of the same thing. Unfortunately, it's a lot of the same thing. And that's just the way our database is set up. And sometimes it's the incident commander doing the incident report. He'll either, he or she will toss it into public service or into other. It's a lot of those just weird calls. So wires down, for example, if a big storm goes through, those kind of calls are going to go in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. And then going on, Mr. Chair, to page 17 under training. And at the bottom there, it talks about a monumental year in terms of service agreements with the Ontario Fire Marshal's Office, the Ontario Fire College. And there's a number of courses there. Just in terms of the certification status, just how far along are we? And can you give me an idea, because I'm assuming that with every firefighter, there's required training hours. So how are we doing, through you, Mr. Chair, to the Chief, how are we doing with respect to certification status across the department, both full-time and volunteer? And then what are the training hours that are required for a firefighter, both full-time and volunteer?
Chief?
Through the chair to Councillor Carr. So we're in really good shape. So certification is a phased-in approach. Most of it is coming into effect in July of this year, and then some of the technical rescue is further out into 2028. So right now our main focus obviously is firefighter certification, officer certification, fire prevention officer certification, and for our training officers. So to date, we have one full-time member that requires pump ops training, and he signed up for a course and will be done before the requirement. And then when we get into the rural side of the house, I believe that we have in and around 10 that require it, and we are running our own internal course through a contract with the fire college so that we can get those individuals certified by the certification date as well. So we anticipate no issues with making that happen. Now, there are some newer staff that won't be certified, but they have 36 months to complete that. So we're really trying to focus on the people that need it right now, and then we'll follow through with the rest. And that goes for the firefighter certification, pump ops certification, and any of the requirements for all the officer programs. To date, all of the officers within our department, with the exception of one, meet the mandatory certification requirements as well. So we're doing really good. I will say kudos to our staff, to our training division. to our deputies who have helped push that through because it is monumental. We weren't in good shape a couple of years ago. We are running our own programs. We're not sending people away unless we absolutely have to. One, it's a huge cost savings, and the other, it keeps people home. So save on cost for travel distance, and we aren't putting people away from their families and work either.
Okay, that's great to hear. And just with that training, what are the required number of hours that typically a firefighter, both urban and rural, in a year, what would they have to meet, I guess?
Oh boy. So in general terms, one course is usually a 40-hour in class, and then about another 20 hours of home study or preparation. And then for some of the officer programs, there's sometimes another 10 to 20 hours of post-course as well. So for one firefighter to become certified, now you're gonna make me do math, it's going to be roughly, well, it's 120 hours just to do the firefighter certification and the pump ops training. That's just in class. Then for each one of those, there are at least 20 hours in of home study. It's significant from starting at scratch.
And if we could, I got a couple more, Mr. Chair, just in terms of the training itself, so beyond the certification, how much hourly training goes in on a regular basis? Because I'm assuming training never stops. How much does your department set for training for both the urban and rural components?
Through the chair to Councillor Carr. So within the rural side of the house, it's 3 hours per week, and that includes doing vehicle and station maintenance as well as training, so they do overlap one another. So that's every week, and it's dependent on what station they reside in, depending on the night. And then within urban, they train every single shift. So there's at least 2 hours a day, normally more, where each shift is training.
Okay, thank you. And through you, Mr. Chair, I want to commend you, Chief, for your recruitment efforts. It's great to see, and the fact that the recruitment is being focused on catchment areas with the help with response time. My last question, Mr. Chair, is pertains to page 22 of the report under facilities, and I can't let this one slide by. With respect to Station 4, and it's page 23, the fire station relocation study. It looks as though that's going to be coming back to council this year before the end of the term. And the suggestion here is Station 4 would end up being a composite. And that's one thing that we've never really got to for a variety of reasons. And it's been said here before that obviously we have a collective agreement that poses an impediment to that. We'll talk about this sooner, but since it's in your annual report, I need to ask, can you explain to me what you mean by composite? And I'll be honest, Chief, I've been concerned about some creep that's occurred there within the rural area, and we're feeling the impacts of that in our tax areas. Can you just explain what you mean by composite?
Chief. Through the chair to Councillor Carr. So specifically for this portion of the report, it's just to identify that we had the station location study done. And when the comments and recommendations were made by the consultants was as a composite station. So this isn't me bringing forward recommendations. It's what was identified as a recommendation from the consultants.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Councillor Brown.
Thank you. My question is for the chief. First of all, Chief Smith, thank you to you and your team for the report. It's very comprehensive, and I think it very much reflects the value that fire and emergency services brings to our community as a whole. At last council meeting, I had asked for a number of statistics, and thank you, they are included. I don't know if it was as a result of the questions which came first, chicken or egg, but they are there. But also want to acknowledge that once I had a look at those, there were a number of back and forth emails where I kept asking for more and more clarification. So I appreciate your patience as we went through all of that. That having been said, though, the fact that someone who's fairly close to what goes on in fire and emergency services, given the counselor role, I'm wondering if it is possible, not in this report, but in future reports, that we could add a bit of commentary and some footnotes. There were a few there, but as you can see, I was trying to reconcile numbers, and the numbers weren't reconciling because they needed explanation. So I would like to offer that in future reports that we just do a bit of commentary as we've done in the other ones. And I appreciate it's very complex, it's very technical. You dumbed it down really well for me, so thank you, so that I could understand it. I do have one question that I didn't get to over the course of all of those emails back and forth, which is the rural-only responses area. There were 82 incident responses. And there is a footnote on that one, said the majority of those responses were specific to 401. Is it safe to assume that while it's identified as rural only, that if we had a major incident on the 401, such as we saw with some of the transports, that both urban and rural would respond?
Through the chair to Councillor Brown, absolutely. So there's been occasions where we have sent both urban and rural resources out, dependent on the nature of the information that we receive, or from the radio reports that we receive from the on-scene first apparatus.
So of the majority of the 82 incidents that were included, could you offer some insight into what kinds of calls would be going on the 401 if it wasn't a major incident?
Chief?
Through the chair to Councillor Brown. I think they're all going to be, they're all emergent type calls. A single vehicle accident, even a two vehicle accident, doesn't always require additional resources coming from urban. And again, there's a section of the 401 that belongs to the urban side of the house as well, where they wouldn't require additional resources either. So it's really dependent on the nature of the incident, and then again, it comes back to how many people are responding as well. So if it's a low turnout that day, we may need to pull resources from urban. That doesn't happen very often, but there has been occasions. And then anything that would be major would be, above the two vehicle type motor vehicle collisions, or a large scale fire, or something that might involve hazmat.
And my last question, again, it's just a little bit more clarification. When we talk about rural only, is that only the part-time firefighters, or would that include the core service pumper?
Chief? Through the chair to Councillor Brown, those rural response only calls do not include the core service pumper.
Any other questions? Councillor Rindler?
There we go. Thank you, through you, Chair, to Chief Smith. Thank you very much for the report, and it's great to tell the story and see how busy the service really is day to day and what you guys and gals do for us. It's tremendous. I noted on page 20 the comparison of 2024 and 2025, the breakdown and the total number of property inspections, how they went up in 2025, yet your number of fire investigations went down and your education has gone up. So what, to me, that says is your prevention efforts in the city are working. So thank you to all your staff, and please extend to them. This is a great report, and thanks for all you do.
Councillor Kelly.
Thank you, through you, Chair. Thank you, Chief Smith, for the report. All the best to you and the team. I want to go to page 13. 2025 total emergency response dispatch calls. There's general fire, public service, burn complaints, rescues. But the biggest out of the pie, 22%, is medical calls, 608. I'm hoping that you can educate us all tonight. Medical calls, 608 when Belleville Fire and Emergency Services show up. EMS, paramedics there as well.
Chief?
Give us an example of a medical call.
Through the chair, so medicals, they come in various arrays. So the majority of the time, we're there with EMS. It's a tiered response agreement that we hold with our local EMS, and it's specific to certain criteria based on the type of emergency that it is. Now, there are also other times where we're there and they're not. So sometimes they'll be tied up, and it could be something like a lift assist. So we'll go provide assistance to someone in need, and we'll clear before they arrive, or they may never be on their way for those type of incidents.
So solid partnership. The other one I have for you is on page 28, and you talked about goals and projects for 2026, and one that I'm hoping that you can just comment on tonight, and hopefully the media will pick it up. Continued advertising of mass notification system. This is a safety project for the city. It's like an alert that if there's something going on in Belleville, they can sign up for the alert, and you have only 2,000 community members have signed up. So it's your opportunity, Chief, to kind of promote that and show the benefits.
Through the
Chief?
chair. So Belleville Alerts is our mass notification system for the city. So that's what we can use. It's very similar to what the province uses for Amber Alerts, tornado warnings, and that type of thing. The only difference is that we can't send it to everybody. You have to register. So I guess the big sales pitch is go to belleville.ca or reach out to us at the fire department and register for Belleville Alerts. And we can use that in the event of any major emergency to notify the public of what's going on. It's as simple as a boil water advisory, or in a case of a major emergency where we may have to evacuate a neighborhood, we can send out immediate information to residents and provide the information they need.
Thank you, Chief, and I'll end with Chair that in the report, I just echo the mayor's message. The mayor said expertise, unwavering commitment to keeping Belleville safe, and dedication, and those are very fitting words, Mayor, so thank you.
Any other questions? All in favor? That's carried. Next item is 8C. We need a motion to receive 8C1 Building Section Month-End Report, February 2026 Year 2 Building Service Month-End Report. Councillor Carr, Councillor Enright Miller, any questions, any comments? All in favor? That's carried. And there is no council agenda items, no items of interest, and we need a motion. The Committee of the Whole does now rise and report at 5:25. Mover and a seconder. Councillor Brown, Councillor Sue, thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. I need a motion for the bylaws number 20, 26, 24, 25, 26, and 27 be read and passed. Moved by Councillor Enright Miller, second by Councillor Thompson. Discussion. All in favor? Carried. New business. Councillor Carr.
Thank you, Mayor. With some of the tax relief measures that were implemented and a lot of result of the police budget impacts, I was wondering if I get a staff report to council outlining the process to permit food trucks and other recreational vendors in parks and open spaces where no contract concession stand is in operation. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay. Motions, notice of motions. Councillor Henderson.
Thank you. I'd like to make a notice of motion that the budget amendment for the Southeast Health Unit be amended from 3% increase to a 0% increase from the last year's budget request, that be brought forward, and that those funds be directed to the tax rate stabilization reserve. Thank you.
Seconder on that? There's no, okay, yeah. Okay. Proclamations. March 14th is World Rheumatic Disease Day. March 15th is International Long COVID Awareness Day. And the month of March through to May as Eyes Up Belleville in partnership with Children's Safety Village. Announcements with anybody else? Councillor Kelly.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple of things. One of our city employees, last week I was in the elevator coming up to spend the day working here on the 4th floor, and I ran into Ken Horne. Ken is a park supervisor with the city, and he was last year's Canadian Sports Field Association top individual. He won a special provincial award, and Ken was telling me he was at Guelph University for the Ontario Turf Grass Symposium. He was one of the guest speakers and showing people how to do things right, latest research, innovations in turf management. So I just wanted to acknowledge Ken Horne. What does Ken do for our city? Manages and supervises 25 soccer fields, 10 baseball diamonds, 70 parks and green spaces, 22 playgrounds, and is instrumental in the Festival Lights Christmas displays. So it's very encouraging and kind of cool to hear good news about one of the folks working for the city of Belleville. Yesterday was International Women's Day. I had a chance to spend some time with the Catholic Women's League at St. Joseph's Catholic Church. Just want to give a shout out to President Ann Weldon. They have 80 strong there. They do a bake sale every May. They raise funds for the Three Oaks Foundation and the Gleaners Food Bank. So much appreciated all the work with the CWL here in Belleville. And finally, I want to get this in. I'm representing the mayor's office next week. St. Teresa Catholic Secondary School is hosting OFSA in boys hockey. 16 different communities will be in Belleville, benefits restaurants, hotels, lots of excitement. That starts next Tuesday. So we welcome all the hockey teams from across the province for OFSA next week here in Belleville.
Okay, anybody else with announcements? Councillor Enright Miller.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to let everyone know that the accessibility nominations for our Accessibility Awards are now open, and our Accessibility Advisory Committee is inviting residents to recognize the individuals and organizations that go above and beyond to remove barriers and create a more inclusive community. And this year's nominations are open in the following categories: built environment, customer service, education, employment and communication, and transportation. And you can make an application up until April 27th, and we encourage you to make the application for anybody in the city who falls into any of those categories. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Enright Miller. Anybody else? Seeing none, I need a motion for the confirmation bylaw 2026-28 be read and passed. Moved by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Enright Miller. Discussion, all in favor? Carried. Motion to adjourn at 5:30. Councillor Kelly, Councillor Carr, all in favor? Carried.